Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, James Protin. Every week I will be sharing the experiences that have defined my journey and talking with people who have their own powerful story to tell. It's about doing better and being better in life, business, and all things in between. The visually inclined can catch us on YouTube, or you can check us out on just about every podcast platform. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We are back in the friendly confines of Chico Bocello in Canonsburg, our home away from home. And our guest today is Jenny DiLucia. Spill with me, Jenny D podcast.
Spill with me, baby.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks, James. I so appreciate this. This is so fun. We're two podcasters.
Yes.
Podcasting together.
I love having podcasters on the show simply because, and we've had this conversation, we should all be rooting for each other,
yes,
really?
Absolutely. There's that word.
There you go. Sorry, Nick, edit that out. We're going to cut that. No, because, really, we're all different.
We are.
We're all very different. And all of us have had a lot of overlapping guests. There's guests that have been on my show, have been on yours, have been on Eric McKenna's and others, but I think that's really cool because there's so many cool stories in this part of the world, in southwestern Pennsylvania, that need to be told.
Oh, see, here's what I think too. When we have a guest on and we are overlapping the same guest, there is a different take.
Right.
And you already told me that with
Yes.
one of our guests. I can't wait to go back and watch it because we both have that. We want to get those stories out.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that, the whole reason why I wanted to start this podcast is I felt like people were suffering in silence and they were going through a lot of emotional and some like really hard times.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like we need to really like focus on them and say it's okay to not be okay.
You're right. And, mental health and that whole area, it breaks my heart that there's still such a stigma around that. And there are so many people who have overcome things, and you've talked to them. We talked earlier about Katie Stern from the Little Fox Foundation.
Right.
When she sat here and told me her story, she came in and she put a picture of Toby right here and the little stuffed fox. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. What do I?
Oh, I cried with her. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was such a powerful conversation, and she went places where I didn't think she would, but those types of stories of overcoming that type of adversity, when you just see there are people walking around that are just, superheroes. They're incredible.
She's able to talk about it. She's able to help other, men and women and families that have gone through something similar. And that to me is just so courageous, so brave.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't you agree? For people to even be on our shows and to talk about these stories that, I've talked about divorce, I've talked about addiction, I've talked about suicide.
Yes.
These are topics that we are not talking about. If you go on social media, and I don't know about you, because we did start around the same time.
Yeah, we did. That's very cool. And I love that too.
Thinking the same thing.
Yeah, we started at the same time for basically the same reasons.
Because I think COVID, the pandemic, the mask, humanity, we did not have that. We didn't have that friendliness. And and I'm Italian. I love to hug. I love to hug and just feel people. And when I didn't see their reactions and their face with that mask, I thought, we got to get back.
That was the hardest thing for people like us, because I'm a hugger too, right? And to not be able to physically contact people, and it's hard. It's hard being a hugger. That's a difficult thing. I still can't believe we
went through that.
I know.
I have to be honest.
I think about it. It boggles my mind. We literally put the entire world on pause.
We did. And I think that's what really opened up my eyes. I thought, okay, wait a second, Jen, you have more to give and you need to help the community. You need to help people out there that are struggling. Because I had my own issues and I knew I was struggling with things. And being a woman who was a stay-at-home mom and doing odd jobs, I thought, I know I have something else to give and something else to offer. And I was just like, I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I felt like, all right, somebody give me a sign or tell me. And when people were opening up to me, James, and you probably have the same similar story, I felt, okay, wait a minute. I'm a good listener and you're a good listener. Let's have these stories on and let's talk about them because someone else could be going through the same thing.
Well, you have a background in broadcast communication. You studied that in college. And but what led you to podcasting? Where did you Where'd that connection come from?
Well, I went to a St. Francis Academy in Castle Shannon. It closed when I graduated. All girls private school, don't ask. My hair was really big. But my senior year, I put in my, your future goals, and I put in there to be the next Oprah Winfrey.
Okay.
So, talk shows were really big back then.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought, I want to have my own talk show. So when I went to Westminster College, I went in as a broadcast major, theater minor, because then I wasn't sure, do I want to be an actress, soap operas? I'm very dramatic. And I was like, I don't know. So I thought, you know what? I want to have my own talk show. Worked at a couple local stations here in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And after, I got married, it was kind of put on hold.
Yeah.
It was put on hold, and I missed it so much, and I missed the people and just being a part of television and radio.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be, I love this platform, right? I think podcasting is the future. I think podcasting is going to eventually take the place of terrestrial radio. I really do, because even look now at what satellite radio is doing, and this fits right into it. And I think this platform is it's so pliable.
Right.
There's so many different things you can do with it that you can't do in other media. You can't do on television. You can't do on radio. So
it's your walking. Here it is, right here.
Yeah,
your walking device.
I love the freedom. Right. You get in a car, and you turn on a podcast. It's just. It's an amazing medium for me. This platform is just, I think it's limitless.
It's really taken off too.
Yeah.
I think during COVID, I think a lot of people, because we were at home, what else were we going to do at home?
Well, you're
so
exactly
they
right.
wanted to learn something else to do. And and I don't know about you, but I really thought, this is not going to happen. I didn't know how to do it. I had to teach myself. I got on YouTube and I was like, how to be a podcaster.
You can learn anything on YouTube.
Yeah. And
let's be honest.
Right. And the hardest thing too, and I don't know if you found, is a name.
Yes.
What do you name yourself? You have to go through that.
James Protin podcast. So you can tell Nick and I put a lot of thought into it.
Wow, you guys are
we were really creative. But and that was the thing too. We just didn't want to get bogged down in that.
Right.
So and I think Nick even said it. Let's just call it this and get going. And then we can, so here we are 90 some, I think you're 94, episode 94. So when you think, will we change it? I don't know, but I love going. What that's very creative. I love it.
Spill with me, Jenny D.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Well, I wanted to do Jenny from the Block Wants to Talk, but I thought J-Lo.
She might take offense.
She is going to want some money, right?
Yeah, you might have to fight her
the rights with. I think she could take me. I really don't think I could.
Yeah, she's pretty tough.
She's tough. I'd like to have her on the podcast. That would be great.
Yeah, and now let me ask you this. How do you feel about celebrities? Because, that's been a conversation when we both started. Our focus was everyday people.
Real people,
right?
Real
a podcast for everyone and everyone. So I haven't felt that I need to interview Mike Tomlin to justify being a podcast host. Right. You know what I mean? So I had Eric Chandler on a podcast. Our mutual friend, Eric. Eric's a football coach, right? So, but Eric's doing all these other cool things. The story is the same. We talked football, we talked X's and O's, we talked life, we talked all these things. I'm just not one that really needs to have that celebrity piece on this show to kind of, for
I think Brooke Shields has taken that. I saw that on Twitter, but actually, when you said Mike Tomlin, I had Kia Tomlin on his wife.
I saw that, yeah.
So to me, it's not about a celebrity; it's about their people too.
It's about the story,
yeah. And
if they have a great story, then
I had Merrill Hodge on. Mm-hmm. And Sean Casey, talked to them about, me in sports. Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, I know what that means. But I really talked to Merrill Hodge about his book about Brainwashed. Mm-hmm. And I think that because, we view them as celebrities, they still do have that story. Because, when I talked to Sean Casey, he really opened up about, his marriage and his life and kids. Sure. And, it became more of a, wow, he's just like us.
Well, when you look at both of those guys you mentioned, right? Both of them, their athletic career is just a small piece of their story, of their journey. Exactly. Right? So how did you, for example, resist the urge to go all in Steelers with Merrill Hodge?
Well, at first I thought, okay, I'm going to talk about it, but I really knew that whole goal is to talk about his books and to really get the awareness out there about brainwash and what he went through, and what his son was also a football player too, and with concussions. So I knew we just had to focus on that. The other one is Find a Way. That's his other book, which we didn't touch on that yet. But he's such a great speaker that I thought, I'm like, here, just take the mic, Meryl. We FaceTime, because that's the other thing is I don't have the capabilities to have someone come into like a studio. So I'll FaceTime or do maybe a Zoom. So I had him FaceTime. So the audio wasn't that great, but it was fun.
I so much love what you're doing. You know, I'm as a host, I'm blessed to have this kid, right?
Yes.
All of this stuff, the quality of the production of our show is 1,000% him. And, you know, I'm not a professional interviewer. We're very informal here. We have a conversation. Nick films it, records it, we edit it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But you have really done yours. Your show is all you. You do everything.
I do. And you know what? I love that because I can, you know, but I do need help. Like I definitely need like an assistant or someone, because I get so many people bombarding me with these stories, and I got to kind of filter through them, because some of these stories, you know, I don't want to talk about politics and I don't want to talk about religion. Those are my no's, you know, so don't come.
Same here.
Now I did have somebody on, which we started talking, and she started getting into a subject, and I thought, you know what, that's another podcast. And usually I don't say no. I'm one of the, you know, yes, Jenny, you know. And I finally said, you know, I had another guy on too, and he was saying, he was kind of bashing the police. And I thought, hi. And I thought, I'm sorry, my stepdad is chief of police. And I told him, I'm not airing this. You are not what I thought, you know, this story was going to go.
You.
I couldn't believe it. I lost sleep over it, James.
Really?
Yeah, but I needed to put my foot down.
But that's that's great. I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of me too.
Yeah, that's very cool, because you know, there's not a lot of hosts.
I didn't do my homework.
Do
I should have done my
right.
homework. I have to be honest. It was my fault.
I get into more detail with people that I don't know. And I knew a lot about you. And that's why we just exchanged brief bios, because, you know, I have a whole guest, you know, overview thing that we send out. But I thought our conversation would be better just being organic.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we could just bounce questions off of each other, because this is what we both do.
I know, because you didn't start out doing podcasting. What did you start out doing?
Oh, geez, I've done a lot of things. You know, I mean,
he's a jack of all trades.
Well, I mean, I spent 40 years in the engineering and construction industry. The last 20 some years in business development and marketing. You know, and that kind of, I just retired from that. I have a small boutique marketing agency. Nick and I do it. We do branding, you know, marketing campaigns, video, a lot of different things, because we have a network. There's a lot of skill sets with a lot of young people that, you know, come in, and we plug them in here and there where we need them to be, which is a lot of fun. And we're working with some startups and doing some things like that. But being so structured for so long in that engineering space, right? Yes. Because it's cookie cutter. It's you know, it's all the same clients, all the same competitors, your peers, everything's the same. There's not much room for a creative outlet, you know? So this really was an opportunity. I started keeping a journal years ago. A mentor of mine, basically I went through a divorce, and he pulled me aside and he gave me a journal. He said, I'm going to give this to you because it's time you start telling yourself the truth, because you're going down a rabbit hole that I'm not going to be able to pull you back out of.
What did he mean, tell the truth?
I was pretty much an imposter. You know, it's been 23, 24 years ago. But, and that was one of the things I struggled with at the time, was because I was living somebody else's life.
I totally get it.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I totally get it.
Instead of being honest with myself internally.
Because you don't see it.
Right. You don't.
But somebody else may see it.
Right. So he explained to me, he said, I'm going to give you this journal. I want you to start journaling. And here's what you do. Put this on your nightstand with a pen. Mm-hmm. When you wake up in the morning, before you get out of bed, I want you to write your first thought. Write it down.
That's a great idea.
It's a word, a sentence, a paragraph, a page, doesn't matter what it is. Write it down, close it, and then go about your routine. Okay?
Wow. I didn't even think about that.
Well, here's what he said, and this is what really got me. He said, that is the purest, most honest thought you will have all day. Because that's the thought that your heart has been holding for you all night while you slept. and couldn't wait to tell you, right?
That is so interesting.
I started doing it, and he said, don't look at it. Close it and go about your day. Before you go to bed at night, read it and see if what you did that day is in alignment with that first thought. Well, I started to cheat after a couple of years, and I would do my thing in the morning, exercise, go to the gym, whatever, and I'd go back and I started writing a blog. So I would take whatever that thought was and turn it into a blog I just put out on social media. And so we started doing that.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and the blog, I post it every morning.
Yeah. I
have posted the blog every single morning, 365 days a year for 10 years.
Wow.
Even Christmas morning. I get up early and I do it. I get up at 4 o'clock every morning.
And you know what? You're helping someone.
Well,
there's someone out there that went through the same thing that you've gone through.
Like I've gotten a lot of people have reached out to me, people I know, people I've never met, and asked just to meet if we can have coffee and talk because they didn't know there was anybody that went through what they went through, for example. There have been some people who thought I was a life coach, but I'm not, and I had to tell them, I can't coach anybody. This is stuff that I went through.
Right.
And I live to tell about.
That's what we have to do.
That's all it is. So that's where it all came from. And then the blog kind of turned into this. And then I wrote a book. It turned into a book.
Yeah.
The book's going to be.
There's so many people writing books now.
It's going to be published
That'll
in
be
February,
another one.
February 21st.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, now I'm going to have to write a book now.
Say,
and I actually thought about it too. Not now, but maybe in a couple of years.
You should. I think it's something that everybody has a book in them.
Everybody has a story.
Yes, and I think you should absolutely write it.
Right.
You said when you ended up being a stay-at-home mom, which is the hardest job on the face of the earth.
Yes, it is.
Right? You have 3 children. To raise 3 children in today's world is nothing short of heroic. Yeah. It really is.
And he traveled. So I always said, I feel like a single mom, because he was gone like 3 or 4 days a week. And then he'd come home and I want to go out and he wants to stay home because he's out to eat, in New York. So, it's the balance. It was just, we were not coming together. It just wasn't syncing. Right. And I thought, geez, I want to be happy. He wants to be happy, but I'm so resentful because I'm thinking, what do I need to do? My job is to take care of these kids.
Right.
I can't have a hobby or I can't do this. And he was so excited for me to do this podcast. And he sees that I wake up every morning and I'm just so excited because it's the people that awesome. I meet.
Yes.
Like talking to you. It's just like, I feel like I've known you forever. And, we're doing the same things.
Right.
And what's funny what you said about life coach. So when I was Googling myself, is that a word, Googling? I was Googling myself.
That's a word. Sure.
And I Googled myself and it said that I am a counselor in Venetia. And I thought, a counselor? I don't really have a degree in it, but I don't think when you use that word counselor, life coach, I think what we are, James, is that we are great listeners.
Yes.
And
I would agree with that.
Being a great listener and giving our advice or, telling someone, you're okay. You're going to be okay. There's other people out there. They may need your story to be told.
Yeah. And I've watched your show and you're like me. You don't tell anybody how to do anything. No. When you share a personal experience, you tell people, well, this happened to me. I did this and here's what happened. Okay. And this is how I dealt with it.
Exactly.
Right. It doesn't mean you need to deal with it that way. If you might have something similar, but you can take what I did and kind of bring it into you, into your heart. And I think that's very powerful because there are a lot of people out there doing what we do, say you should do this and you should do that.
Right.
And that's, I'm not an expert in anything.
Nobody wants to be told what to do.
No.
But what's great about it is we both provide the resources, the awareness, the information, the education. And that, to me is right there. We're giving it to the community. Yes. We're giving it to people that need it. And they're not going to see, like my topics are all different. They're all over the board.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't sure where to zone in, but I'm finding that every story you're going to get a different audience. So why not talk about different things?
Absolutely. And because there's so much to talk about. There is so much to talk about. And Southwestern Pennsylvania, we depending on where you're at in the country, we have there's such a misconception about who we are here. This is such a beautiful part of the country. It's
we have so many stories right here in Pennsylvania. We don't even
absolutely. We don't even have to leave Washington County.
I know.
There are more characters per capita here than probably anywhere in the world. And there's There's characters that are doing silly things for fun. There are people who are doing really serious, impactful things that nobody knows about.
I know. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to bring that out and have people learn that, guess what? This is out there. There's this nonprofit, or there's this woman who's doing this, or, there's a man that just started this business and this is, what he's learned or wrote a book. Or, there's just so many amazing stories.
And you have a lot of nonprofits that you feature on your show as well as we do. And one of the things that we committed to is that the proceeds from the book are going to go to support local nonprofits, not the national stuff, but local feet on the ground nonprofits. And it's how we can give back to a community that's been so good to us. In my professional career, I've had so much success here in Pittsburgh and southwestern Pennsylvania, even though I work nationally. But this has always been the base, and I've always been welcomed here.
Right. We're both
I haven't had to fight. Yeah, I haven't had to fight for anything. well, I'm a
You don't have the Yinzer,
Pittsburgher-ish.
though. I have the Yinzer stuff.
No, I get that Mon Valley thing. I don't even know what that is.
What is a Mon Valley?
I don't even know.
See, I'm the South Hills of Pittsburgh, but I grew up anywhere you go, people are like, "Are you from Pittsburgh?"
They know. Yeah,
like,
they
how
get
do
it.
You know?
They know who we are. Yeah, we all have it. And no, you people sound funny, not us.
That's right.
Not. No, we're normal.
They're like, what's with that word yins?
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, only we can use that word.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say it. Don't even think about it. Don't try to figure it out. You'll just hurt yourself.
First person. We're going to have to do a story on that, James.
Yeah. There's so much Pittsburgh stuff. You could do 10 episodes on just Pittsburgh stuff. Yes. Look at John and Rachel with Jagoff. I mean, that they hit a niche. I'm so happy for them. They're nothing like you or I are.
I've never met them.
They're good people. I knew Rachel from hockey. Her kids and my grandkids played hockey, so I knew her from that. Met John. They were on the show, and very, very early on. But they have a niche that it's phenomenal.
Right.
They serve that audience.
They go to different places in Pittsburgh.
Yes. And it's such a unique city. It's a big, small town.
I know. There's so much to do here. Yeah. And like you said, people get not a bad rap about Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. We have so much. Our culture district, I love shows like, musical theater. Theater was my minor. I thought I wanted to be an actress, Broadway, baby, Broadway.
There you go.
But I just knew that wasn't my route. But now my daughter's pursuing it. So I'm like,
good for her.
I'll be a stage mom.
You say she's in New York?
She's in New York now, yeah.
Good for her.
So I'm so glad she's living her dream. And I want people to know it doesn't matter how old you are. I really was thinking, I can't do this. I'm going to be 50. Like, why would I start something? This is not going to make any money, or this is not going to really do anything for anybody. And I thought, you know what? If it could help one person, then I'm doing what I set out to do.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. I never count views or likes. I just want one person to like. I just want one person to see that.
Exactly.
That's.
I just feel fulfilled. Don't you?
Yeah. And it is sad that we waited so long. I mean, you were 50. I was in my 61, 62. Yeah. So, and I was thinking, why didn't I do this sooner?
I know.
Why?
I didn't have the confidence.
Oh, that's a lot of it. A lot of it. And I've done public speaking for 25, 30 years, but this was different in the beginning, because first of all, I'm not a sitter. I'm not a podium guy. Yeah. If you saw me give a talk, I walk all over the place. I can't do that. So this was hard. Yeah. This was really hard. And I've banged
you
this
really
ring.
Zone in on the guest or the person you're talking to, because you're just right there, like 2 people or 3 people.
Yeah. And that's I love this. I love the one-on-one piece.
I do too.
Because there's an intimacy in conversation that you can't find in a group. Right. It's just, you just can't do it. You can be friendly, you can enjoy the conversation, but there's a certain level of intimacy when you have a one-on-one conversation in an informal setting like this that just can't be duplicated.
No. And the stories and people opening up, and I even put on my disclaimer, if you want to be anonymous, you can be anonymous. We'll just do audio and we just won't release your name or your face.
Sure.
Not one person wanted to be anonymous. They want to tell their story.
And you make people comfortable.
That.
You
so do you.
Well, when you came in here, you immediately, it was like we'd known each other forever. Do you know what I mean? We're
Yeah.
very similar people,
Yeah.
but you put people at ease and make them comfortable, and that's what brings that out of them. It's not even the questions you ask.
That. Thank you.
It's not even the questions. It's who you are. It's the vibration that you
Thank
give
you.
off that, I can sit here and talk to you because I'm safe. I'm safe with you.
You feel safe with
Yes.
people. And, and that's what makes us different, both of us. Like we really are those kind of people that we're here to just express and to be there for you and just, cheer you on and say, you know what, tell your story because your story is going to help somebody.
Absolutely. That's what we try to do. Just provide a safe, supportive platform for people to share their story.
I like that. I do.
And I think I love the idea, and I love the idea of us working together, supporting each other because that's what it's all about.
Right.
That's what it's all about. There's so many people out there, like you said, and so many stories.
And just, what are we competing about?
Yeah.
I mean, we're telling great stories from the Pittsburgh area with so many great people.
Yep.
I did have some people on from other states. I was looking at my numbers on GarageBand. Where's Nick? And and I was looking at those. I'm on Podbean is my platform.
Okay.
And I said, hey, I told Karen, or I forget who it was. I said, hey, there's 19 people from Spain listening.
Nice. Nice.
So, it's so great to be like nationwide.
Oh, yeah. And once we put this out there, you don't know where it's going to go.
You never know who's going to
You
listen.
don't know where it's going to go. All you know is that it's going to be there forever.
Right.
It's never going to go away.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure what you put out there is as good as it can be.
Oh, yeah.
Because it'll come back to you.
It will. And the one guy called me. He was from Nebraska, and he called my cell number because I don't have my work number. And he's like, "Hey, is this Jenny D? Or can I speak to Jenny D?" So I was like, "Should I put the phone down and pretend that was my assistant?" And be like, "Hello, this is Jenny D."
Hold, please.
Yeah.
Let me see if she's available.
Yeah. Oh wait, she's busy right now. Can I take a message? So I loved it. I was just like, oh, somebody's calling me. Somebody wants to. And when I talked to him, I said, how did you hear of me, little old Jenny D? And he said, oh, you're on Listen Notes. You're like a top 10% global podcast to listen to. I thought,
for you.
Me?
That's very cool.
It's exciting.
It is. It is. It's fun.
We're reaching people, James,
Right.
that need us, that need to hear these stories. I mean, it's just, I cry with people. I had a military mom on, and she had two boys in the military, one in the Air Force, one in the Army. And we cried together because every time she would watch the news, and she would see what was going on in Afghanistan, it was just, and people would call her, hey, did you see what happened? Well, it was a lot.
Huge. I live with a military mom, and my
Yeah.
stepson's in the Air Force. Has been
Right.
for several years. Went through 2 deployments,
Yeah.
and that is so. It's so impactful on the families,
Right.
and
Right.
he has 2 little ones, and when that's why I do this.
Yeah, I love those boots.
Well, I may have mentioned this to you. I found a charity boot campaign, and I was just totally by accident. And it's a nonprofit that supports military families, not so much the soldiers who are serving, but their families.
Yes.
Because and knowing how stressful and how impactful deployments are on the family, and 90% of the proceeds go directly into the program. So I bought a pair of boots.
Yes,
And,
I love that. 90%. Wow.
yeah,
that's great.
it's huge, and it turns out they're like the most comfortable shoes I have. I wear them all the time.
See.
I started out as support for my stepson, but now they're comfortable.
And you're giving back to the family.
And-
I do want to
yeah.
partner with a nonprofit. I haven't
Yeah.
decided yet. There's
There's
a couple.
so many to
There
pick
are
from.
so many.
That's
I may do a different one each month, or just kind of like
Yeah.
just focus on that.
yeah. I think you have to do it that way, or just commit yourself to a little bit to
Right.
10 of them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If you could do one a month, or you could give a smaller percentage to 12.
Yes.
That's a tough decision.
It is a tough decision.
It's a tough
because
decision.
there's so many. I mean, I've had
Right.
people on with cancer,
Mhm.
and and to me, it's like there's just, gosh, if I could help everybody and just
I know.
but
There's
that's
just not enough of
no, there's not, and
Yeah.
and I really am like, with human trafficking. I had a guy on twice, Joe Sweeney, which is a very interesting guy. If you want to have somebody on your podcast,
Mm-hmm. I would like to. We did
The
a
Serbia Project.
couple of shows on human trafficking,
Yeah.
and it was very, very powerful.
Oh, like
We had a victim on, a woman who was trafficked, who was But yeah, it was just
yes.
Yeah.
But we have to talk about those stories.
was-
As much as people don't want to listen to them,
right.
we have to talk about them because it's going on
Well,
every
you
day.
have to. It's a problem.
Yeah.
It's something that we have to deal with, and when you can't sweep it under the rug, you can't turn away.
No.
You know, all those difficult conversations, and you know, the one thing that we don't do, we don't do politics.
Right.
You know, we've had some people from the natural gas industry, the Marcellus Shale, and because I know that industry, even though it's very polarizing, but you know, from a technical standpoint and the science and engineering behind it, I was immersed in that industry. So just the fact that there is such a misconception about that process, about the, you know,
Yes.
out there. I never hesitated to have somebody come in and talk about it because it's gone so far afield now. So it's so way over that the truth in the science has just been whitewashed. Right.
Yeah.
So you're right. We can't avoid those difficult conversations, but and they're tough. Have you had a show that you carried with you for a period of time after?
Yes. Yes.
Those are hard.
Yeah, those are hard.
Those are hard.
I had a woman on that talked about losing her baby, and it was called In God's Hands. It was like an hour. We just kept talking and talking and talking. And her story, it really reached a lot of people. And that's the other thing is if my story, somebody texts me or, you know, sends me a message, says, Jen, thank you so much for having that story on.
Right.
I feel so happy for them because then I realized they needed to hear that story.
Sure.
And it does. It resonates with you and you just feel for them.
Yeah.
And I feel like these are all my best friends. Every guest.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're my best friend. I love you. Because I'm like, they're sharing so many intimate stories with me. And I just feel so grateful and so blessed that they're doing that.
You know, yeah, you are. We are. I mean,
Yes.
to have this opportunity to meet the people that we do and talk to people, you know, like I said, I've watched your show and I've checked in on it and listened and things like that because I first noticed you because of your name. Spill with me, Jenny D. It's really cool, right?
Everybody says spill the tea. I'm like, no, it's not spill the tea. There's too many spill the teas. That's why I didn't do it.
Do you know that the first podcast I ever listened to or watched was the first one Nick and I did?
Oh, really? I know.
I wasn't a podcast
I wasn't
guy.
either. I have to be honest. I wasn't either. And everybody goes, well, what do you listen to? Well, now I listen to ones that are similar.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter listens to crime. I'm like,
true crime.
Yeah, she goes to bed with true crime. I'm like, are you crazy? I can't listen to that. Stop. That'll give me nightmares.
I know. There's so many different genres, which is really cool. Like
That's why it's so great. There's so much out there. We can have this many platforms out there.
Absolutely. So let's shift it up a little bit. Let's talk football for a minute. So you are a football mom, and not only are you a football mom, your son is the quarterback.
My baby.
That is the hardest mom thing to do. Especially, you know, he's a sophomore, Peters Township. We can say that. They're playing Saturday for the WPL championship.
Yes.
Class 5A.
5A.
Very cool.
Against Pine Richland, yeah.
As a sophomore, that is so cool. I mean, it's like, is he excited? Is he nervous, excited?
He doesn't show emotion. Like
because sophomore's young. He's a kid. Is he 16?
He's 16.
Okay.
Yeah. And like he's very humble. We don't really I don't say anything. I just you ready for the game? And he'll just be like, yeah. But we do a routine where I make him peanut butter and jelly sandwiches before the game.
There you go.
And he has his banana, and I just make sure that we just try to keep it. But I'm so superstitious. Like this is so. I have to wear the same jeans, the same underwear. Can I say underwear? I have to wear the same jersey, the same everything. Yeah. I mean, I can't change anything. I'm so superstitious that I feel like my mom and I sit there in our chairs on the bleachers. We hold hands, and I close my eyes sometimes. I'm like, what happened? What happened? What happened?
That's awesome.
It's hard to watch.
That is awesome.
Football moms, I give you a lot of credit out there. Football moms and dads. Because
it's harder for moms. Believe me, it's harder for moms.
I'm like this.
Yeah, and grandmas too. You know, my wife and I will go. We have a grandson who's playing for Bell Vernon. Yeah. It is funny. Last year as a freshman, they won a WPIAL and a state championship.
That's wonderful.
You know, and I said to him, he's a twin sister, and I take them to school every morning, which is really cool. I get to spend 15 minutes. It's just brief, but I don't let them be on their phones, and we talk.
Nice.
And we'll talk about during football season. We'll talk about the game that's coming up. And
yeah, it's funny, huh? What does he say? Does he open up about it?
he does because he says, Pap, because he didn't play a lot last year as a freshman, but their coaching staff, everybody matters.
Yes.
Everybody on the team matters.
Oh yeah.
And I tease him all the time.
Sport, yes.
Because he once he got to the playoffs in the winter, it's winter and the weather got cold and they have the hand warmer. I mean, he would have M&Ms and stuff in it, and just sit on the side. But
and it's all about the team.
it is.
Like my son's always
team.
like, when they interview him, he's always like, I am thankful for my team.
Yes.
Like those linemen protecting him,
Right.
the receivers, what is it?
Yep.
The wide receiver.
Yeah, no.
You got to help me out here, James. I don't know.
No,
all the
wide
positions.
receivers, yeah.
Tight end.
I'm happy to hear that because Bell Vernon has a kid, Quentin Martin, who's one of the top players in the country. He's a 5-star. He's signed early this year with Penn State.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, in fact, he's having a great year. He's a senior. It's great, but so he's had a lot of attention.
Yes.
Because there aren't a lot of nationally ranked. He was a top 20 kid nationally.
Wow.
But he's always talks about his teammates.
Yeah.
And
you
he's
can't
just
do
a
it without
very
your team.
down to earth kid, and
And it's the coaching,
It is.
team. It's just everything. The
Yes.
parents, the boosters. I mean, everybody comes together and you're a whole team and you just,
absolutely.
and you're there to support your team and have fun. And, some people are, with their cowbells or, they're saying stuff. But really, at the end of the day, we're all just there supporting our kids. And we just want them to be
You're
safe.
100% right.
To be safe and happy.
You're 100% right. And so it's a lot of fun. I played high school football 100 years ago.
Yeah.
I grew up in it. My dad was a coach, and now with my grandsons, it's
It's
been
different
a
now.
lot of fun.
Like the helmets are very good. Like they really protect you, and the things.
There was no protection,
Right.
and it was like it's a miracle anybody that played football in the 70s survived.
Think about how many concussions like kids had way
Yeah.
back when. Like I know my husband played at Baldwin, and he said that
Yeah.
he was bleeding. He came off. he
Oh,
went
you
right
would
back in.
Yeah, I didn't get any concussions because I was always I was too afraid to get tackled, so I ran fast. Luckily, I was fast, so I never got hit in the head. But but it's a lot of fun, and football here in southwestern Pennsylvania.
Oh,
other than Texas,
Steelers.
I mean,
Yes.
this is the
We love
high
our
school football
sports, yeah.
capital of the world.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting perspective, and I like what you said too, because in high school, quarterback is the most important position on the field, right? Because when you're dealing with 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, they're unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
In that quarterback, to have a quarterback who is, calm and in control of things, that's great. But you usually associate that with a senior. Your son being that as a sophomore is really cool and very impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But it's also
I'm taking all the credit. Okay,
it's
he
also
learned
the
it from
most
me.
polarizing position as well, because if
It's kind of like the pitcher in baseball,
Right.
Right?
you can make a mistake if you're an offensive tackle or a defensive back,
Right.
but the quarterback makes a mistake, a couple thousand people see it.
Yeah.
And they know about it, right?
Now you got me nervous.
No, he's going to be great.
I'm stressing out, James.
He's going to be great. It's
I feel like I played. Like by the time the game's over, I'm exhausted,
You're
like just emotional, and you're
Yeah.
just drained. And you know what? And like you said, it's a lot of fun, and I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of all the kids
good.
and all the other schools. Everybody's, they're all doing their best.
Absolutely.
You have those rivals, but when it all comes down to it, they're all shaking hands, and he's taking pictures with other friends of his because you play other kids that maybe you play baseball
yeah.
with in the summer.
Right.
So it's so rewarding.
And the world has
so
gotten
much fun.
so small, even for those kids. Everybody
Yeah.
knows
Everybody
each other.
knows everybody.
you know?
Yes,
So it's really cool.
that's how we know each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's hard to believe. We can sit and go on and on and on and on, but we probably should start to wind down. And what we should do is continue this on your show.
Yes, I would love that.
We can just reverse it. I'll sit over there. You can sit over here.
Yes.
But one thing we try to do at the end of the show, when we're closing out, I don't know if you haven't seen the blog, you wouldn't notice, but when I was a kid, my father told me about the 5 pillars of having a good day, a good life, a good week, all these things. It's live, love, learn, pray, inspire.
I saw that. I love
Okay?
that. Yes.
So, and he always said, if you do those 5 things every day, you're
Yes.
going to have a good day. it's almost impossible to have a bad day if you do those 5 things, right?
Right.
So we took that and ran with it. And it started with, he was a storyteller to the 10th magnitude.
Well, that's where you got it from.
But probably. So of those 5 things, live, love, learn, pray, inspire, what one of those jumps out and resonates with you and why?
Love.
Why?
Because I believe that, I say every time I start my podcast, I say, hello, my beautiful people.
I know you do.
Because I want people to know that they're loved. I don't want anybody to ever feel that they're alone and like nobody loves them. I just want them to know that that love is there. If I could be that love for someone, they can come to me, talk to me, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to come away with this world is just, let's love each other. We're
That's what it's all about.
Too much hate.
That's what
Let's
it's all
be
about.
kind. The kindness needs to come back and, but yeah, love really resonates with me.
If you love unconditionally, it's impossible to hate anybody.
Yeah,
you can't hate someone if you love them
I hate that word
first.
hate too.
I do too. I try not to ever say it. There are things that I don't like,
Right.
but I really believe in my heart that there's literally nothing I hate.
Right.
And that's a big deal for me.
It's funny because you'll go through life and when things were so important way back when and I hated that person and they did this to me. When something happens in your life, for instance, we went to a funeral and we ran into these same people and you know what? We all cried together and hugged together because at the end of the day, we're all human. And what was so important back then, it's not really important.
Right.
What's important is today and what we're going through and just being there for each other.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on. This was great. And I'm looking forward. Let's keep going and collaborating.
Let's keep this going. I love it. Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sweetheart.
Thank you.